So how is it that you are the person that's saying that you're anti-Zionist whenever you support organizations that want to kill all of the Jews?
Could not have said it better myself. Perfect display of why Hasan Piker is unquestionably anti-Semitic. Well done. Oh God. And also, just from Hasan's perspective, imagine how fucking egotistical and narcissistic you have to be to know you're such a toxic figure, to know so many people have such strong negative opinions of you, and then to attach yourself to a key Senate race where you're creating this world where it's a plausible reality that in a few months, we live in a world where Hasan Piker's narcissism costs Democrats the fucking Senate. Isn't that crazy? Imagine the hubris. I hate that Hasan is such a fucking moron and his fans are so fucking stupid that they're just getting absolutely cooked and getting their backs just blown out by Asmongold on this topic, dude. It is so shameful that these people have any political relevance in this country. These fucking crazy terrorist-supporting freaks.
So, yeah, she calls this out, and I think it's true. And obviously, Hasan, of course, has to protect his reputation and defend himself. If I was an Israel First congresswoman... What? What? What the hell does this have to do with Israel?
Jew.
This dude talks about Israel more than the KKK talks about black people.
True, actually. He's obsessed.
Really? Like, I feel like he talks, like, this is insane. Like, he talks about Israel more than Nick Fuentes. Oh.
These days, unironically, yes, he does.
Holy shit, man.
I was saying the other day, Nick Fuentes has dropped out of the top 5 most anti-Semitic political pundits right now. It's got to be Candace, Hasan, in no particular order, but Candace, Hasan, Tucker, Cenk, and Anna are the top 5 in my opinion. So, and I mean, like, Kyle Kalinski's up there as well. I mean, like, Fuentes's, niche of being anti-Semitic has it's gone mainstream, ladies and gentlemen.
It's really everything. Like, it's DR'd. Just stop. I feel like at a certain point, Israel's got to be paying him. Like, I mean, he's like, he's making a...
Because he makes the anti-Zionist crowd look so fucking deranged. Yeah, I could fucking see it, honestly. Although more realistically, he's just getting paid by the CCP to sow division on the left.
Mockery out of this. There are legitimate criticisms of Israel's involvement in American politics. I've discussed them at length. But the truth is that this is just embarrassing.
Yep.
Hasan is actually Israel first. All topics Israel first. Yeah, that's true, actually. That's funny. I think I'm gonna...
True. Has anyone gotten Hasan Piker's opinion on Israel or AIPAC? Does anybody know? The people need to know, Hasan. Please make a clear statement about your opinion on Israel. You've been real quiet on this topic, but yeah, he really is Israel first, isn't he? That's funny.
Use that. I'm going to steal that. With possible cheating scandal with a Republican in the state. So I love how, like, this is the implication with a possible okay, this is a lawsuit get out of jail free card. I'm going to create
I'm just going to say some bullshit about you. I'm going to dip into a personal attack, Mr. Piker's specialty. I'm just going to attack you personally because you're criticizing me for my rhetoric. You cheated on your husband with a Republican. Like, possibly.
a theoretical accusation against you and then just put it out there to attack your character. This is why I never feel bad for people like Dean Withers whenever they get accused of bullshit, because they have no problem going and doing this shit. They have no problem using any of this language, but then the moment it gets turned around on them, and then they're the ones that are getting defamed, they're the ones that are getting reputation destroyed. Now it's like, oh, you can't do this.
Yeah, Dean Withers, not only does Dean Withers do that, and I'm going to pull up a clip here in a sec, but Dean Withers also is guilty of just not defending people who have been, like, smeared or falsely accused of shit. he's been far too passive towards Hasan himself, etc. So like it is hard to have sympathy for Dean Withers on that front. I agree with Asmongold there. I want to find this clip. Okay, I fucking found it. Hell yes. This is a crazy video, bro.
If I was dumb enough to send my kid in, it's no different than a baby commercial for diapers.
Can you answer my question? Do you think that you have the right to consent to 65-year-old men looking at your son while he's naked?
I wouldn't allow it.
Do you think
That's
that
my
you have the
responsibility as a
right?
father.
Do you think that you have the right to allow it? Do you think if you did allow it, that you would be violating the consent of your child?
They're talking about a doctor, by the way. Like, yes, if you have a child, kids don't have rights. Like, yes, if you take a kid to the doctor, you do have the right to tell the doctor that they can, like, look at your child or their body to, like, diagnose some issue or whatever. Like, yes, of course. Why is this like what is this?
They have no choice in the matter whatsoever. It's my decision as the parent, and I wouldn't put my kid in that
One of the most legendary soy faces of all time, by the way.
situation. That's why I think pageants are weird in the first place. I would never.
Nothing this guy, he's debating some conservative guy, but like nothing this guy is saying is even remotely incorrect. Yeah, you do have the right to do that if you have a kid. If you have a baby and they have some sort of rash, like you take them to the doctor and you let the doctor look at the rash. Like, yeah, this is how everything works, bro. I mean, I get it. He's like 14 years old, so like maybe that's perplexing to him, but Jesus. It gets so much worse too.
Amen. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I think that you don't deserve to have any custodial rights over your child. So for those watching, their handle is goatman91096. It's gonna be their handle. If there happens to be anybody in here that's good at has like facial recognition software,
You can find me. It's fine. Nothing I said was wrong.
Okay,
I just said that the kid doesn't get to make the decision.
What's your name?
I would never put them in that situation.
Okay, what's your name?
And why are you trying to dox people, dude? That's weird.
Because I want to find who you are so I could call CPS and have them take your child away from you.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure you would like to try to do that.
Yes, I would. So
They would never even do it. That's the best part.
Okay. What's
Because
your name?
I would take the part, and I have a witness sitting here who's heard me say I would never put my child in that situation.
Okay. So what's your name?
So don't worry. Move the goalpost too, by the way.
So you said that you think that parents have every right to exploit and traffic their children. So
No, that's not what I said.
So I'm not going to debate it with you. That is what you said.
This is deranged. This is one of the most deranged things I've ever seen a fucking live streamer like try and pull. This is crazy. This clip alone is like enough for me to be like, oh, this dude is like so unhinged. This dude cannot be trusted like with the influence that he has. Like, good God, Dean, get a grip. But anyways, so yes, I agree with Asmongold that it's hard to have any sympathy for Dean Withers when he's getting like smeared, because like look at what he tries to do to other people, and then he keeps his mouth shut when other people like, you know, Destiny or whatever are getting smeared so that he can maintain his network of connections. So I mean,
yes, well, this is what happens. Cheating scandal with a Republican in the state. So, yeah, I wouldn't spend too much time vying for the spotlight by actively defaming a prominent anti-Zionist voice. Anti-Zionist. You're not an anti-Zionist.
he is
Like,
not.
it's just, you're just not. I mean, here's the reason why Hasan is anti-Semitic. It's because he supports groups that want to genocide Jews. Here, let's do a thought exercise. Let's say I support...
It really is just that simple, isn't it? You don't really have to you don't have to twist yourself into knots trying to explain, because the dude does use all like the language strategies and shit, but like obviously he clearly just hates Jewish people. And the easiest way to put that on display, I think this is a great argument from Asmongold that he's putting forward here, is you just point out, like, hey, you support Hamas, right? Isn't their charter, like, doesn't it explicitly state, like, a curse upon the Jews, death to America, and that they specifically don't just want to destroy Israel, but they want to, like, wipe out all Jews off the face of the earth? Would you say that's anti-Semitic to support a group who explicitly states that wiping out all Jewish people is their goal? Like, it's so straightforward. It's so simple. Like, yes. Like, supporting the Nazis, anti-Semitic. Supporting Hamas, objectively anti-Semitic.
Or the Nazis. Would you say that's anti-Semitic to support the Nazis?
Yep.
Yes, right? You would say this is anti-Semitic. Okay. All right. So why? Well, it's because of the Holocaust. The Holocaust happened, and the Nazis killed a bunch of people, a bunch of Jews. So now Hasan is supporting another group of people that wants to do another Holocaust.
True,
they say it.
That is what
they
he does.
say it. This is, and I'll just real quick. Does Hamas call to kill Jews in their charter?
Don't know how I feel about asking Super Grok here, but
we'll pull this up and look at it here and say it probably. Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is
not even that I'm outright opposed to using an LLM for a question like this, and Grok will probably get it right. But my understanding is that other models are much superior to Grok, but whatever, doesn't matter.
That's it. It clearly says this. It's already Article 7. Here we go. Yes, the original Hamas covenant does. It explicitly quotes a hadith that describes Muslims fighting and killing Jews as necessary precursor to the day of judgment. So here we go, right here. Reframes. And so look at this here. Oh my God. Wow. Does call for it. Does in 17 document, does not. There it is. The question is, why do they hate Jews so much other than religion? It's a land dispute. It's a Middle Eastern land dispute removed in 2017 for political reason. Right. Oh, how many Jews are in Palestine, right? How many Jews are around Hamas?
It's crazy that Asmongold has such a better understanding, or at least outwardly expresses a better understanding of Israel and Palestine than someone like Hasan, who's made the conflict his entire fucking identity. Obviously, he has to lie. He's motivated to lie because the facts aren't on his side on this topic. But it is a land dispute. It's not some religious crusade. It's not some racial. There's no, like, the ethnicity component to it is only there so insofar as, like, Jews tend to be targeted. So, and that's kind of irrespective of ethnicity, right? Because Middle Eastern Jews, as well as, European Jews, are all targets of groups like Hamas. But it is really ultimately a land dispute because Israel was founded in 1948. So it more so boils. So when people call it a genocide, I'm pretty sure that genocide, at least colloquially and maybe even definitionally, requires some sort of ethnicity or religion component involved. So when people call it a genocide, it's like, no, it's just that these people want to kill all Jews and there's a land dispute between them, and they invaded Israel and committed, like, the largest terror attack in the country's history and slaughtered and raped a bunch of civilians. And it's like, obviously that doesn't justify the full extent of Israel's actions in Palestine, even since October 7th, but to pretend that it's just like some genocide because they hate Muslims is so goofy and so disconnected. It ultimately boils down to a land dispute. That is correct.
They're killing all of them. So anyway, asked about the Houthis and Hezbollah. Yeah, let's see here. What about the Houthis and Hezbollah?
I might have said earlier that it was Hamas that has the death to America, curse upon the Jews thing in their charter or whatever. It's actually the Houthis, I think. But that doesn't really change what I said because because the Houthis are the group that Hasan has spent the most time glazing out of, Houthis, Hezbollah, Hamas. The Houthis are the ones that Hasan brings on his stream to glaze up in softball interviews. So,
sorry, I don't know how to spell it. I'm bad at spelling. Take a look at this. Thought I wouldn't talk about the sand wars. Well, but unfortunately, the sand wars are in America. They're trying to make this the sand wars are in America. Yes, both have foundational ideology and rhetoric that target Israel for destruction and include explicit anti-Semitic elements directed at Jews. Israel, the hated enemy, must be fought, the hated ones. One struggle when this entity is obliterated, no treaty with it. There it is. It's primarily on Zionist entity rather than blanket religious call to kill all Jews worldwide in the exact style of 1988. However, the document and subsequent rhetoric treat the conflict in religious and existential terms. So there it is again, the Houthis. This is the Houthis' official slogan. This is like their catchphrase. Like McDonald's, I'm loving it. Well, the Houthis is curse upon the Jews. That's it. So there you go.
It is a bit fascinating that the three terrorist organizations that Hasan Piker most prominently and outwardly supports all share this common thread of wanting to wipe Jews off the face of the earth. Isn't that interesting? Doesn't that give you pause? Doesn't that make you scratch your head like, is this guy anti-Semitic? Well, he supports Hamas. They say that Judgment Day, a precursor for Judgment Day, is war with the Jews. Well, Hezbollah, explicitly states that they want to wipe out Israel and kill Jews. And then the Houthis, death to America, death to Israel, curse upon the Jews. That's interesting. That's the common thread between the three terrorist organizations, because there's more than three terrorist organizations that Hasan Piker supports, but the three that he most prolifically supports on his Twitch channel, by the way, a platform directed at children, they all are extremely anti-Semitic. But I'm supposed to sit here and believe that this guy isn't anti-Semitic. Okay, Chief.
All these parts, Iran's axis of resistance share the goal of Iran eliminating Israel as a Jewish state and a mix of anti-Zionism with classic anti-Semitic themes. The Houthi slogan is the most overtly and routinely anti-Semitic, and the Houthis have been the ones that he's defended the most. So how is it that you are the person that's saying that you're anti-Zionist whenever you support organizations that want to kill all of the Jews? You're not anti-Zionist.
Could not have said it better myself. I've been a harsh critic of Asmongold on this channel in the past, but I had no notes. Perfect display of why Hasan Piker is unquestionably anti-Semitic. Well done.
You're anti-Semitic. You're like, this is the most ironic thing, is that he constantly cries about a genocide in Palestine, and then he's subsequently supporting people that want to genocide all the Jews.
It's not the only genocide Hasan supports, by the way. He also supports the Russian genocide of Ukrainians, the Chinese genocide of Uyghur Muslims, the Turkish genocides, that he runs cover for. So
he's supporting a genocide himself. He said they should get the Nobel Peace Prize. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they should get the... Never mind. You know what? Never mind. You guys know how I feel about it. So, and anti-America, it's right there. Yeah, sure. And so anti-Zionist voice harm to Democrats state majority chances over a 90-10 issue. So so what he's saying is that 90% of Democrat voters want to hold American Jews accountable for what Israel does. That's great.
Well, that's obviously not true. And he is misusing this stat. He's saying that 90% of Democrats have a disfavorable view of Israel, which is far different from supporting terrorist organizations, to be clear. You can have a reasonable critique or a reasonable set of critiques for the state of Israel without supporting terrorism. It's really actually not that hard. And you shouldn't even really have to ask someone to, maintain that bar in their rhetoric, especially if they're one of the largest political voices on the internet, It's not a tall order to be like, hey, bro, maybe you shouldn't support terrorism. Maybe you shouldn't tie yourself to people who are trying to run for Senate and then avowedly support terrorism. Maybe that's a little bit narcissistic of you to do.
That's always a good thing to. It's always a good thing to have. And then, not Hasan Piker daydreaming about being me, as if keep dreaming, pal. There's only one of us hurting the chances of the Democratic majority in November, and it ain't me. She's right about this. Yep. I think that this is one of the things that all of the Democrats that voted for Joe Biden in the 2020 primary, not a single one of them, I can't say not a single one, but the overwhelming majority of them, they're not going to be supporting somebody who is pro-Hamas, pro-Houthi, pro-9/11, right? They're not going to be okay.
Yeah, obviously. Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
With that. These are your Southern Democrat, James Tallarico. The Bible says that we need to have open borders. The moment that you include this vilest jihadi bullshit,
I don't think that's James Tallarico's position, but okay.
You're going to lose them. And by the way, Joe Biden was the president. And he won the fucking, I don't want to argue about the election. I think he won the election. I think people are crying over nothing.
Correct. There's zero evidence to the contrary. So, and you would think, the most closely scrutinized election in all of human history, at least some evidence would come to light if that were the case.
But I'm open to evidence of the contrary. I think it's bullshit, though, at least from what it seems. I don't want to get off topic here. He won the primary, for sure, right? We all pretty much agree that he won the Democratic primary. That's the biggest block of Democrats.
Oh, the Bernie bros won't like that statement. But yes, he absolutely decisively won the primary in 2020, and Hillary Clinton decisively won the primary in 2016, despite Bernie bro cope.
And you're completely alienating them with third world sand war, identity politics. That's what you're doing. They donate to a child killer, America.
Not how I would phrase it personally, but yes, this is alienating to moderate Democrats to be, supporting terrorist organizations. That doesn't really fly with most voters, believe it or not. Especially if you're attaching yourself to a candidate for Senate whose name is Abdul El-Sayed. And honestly, it's the El-Sayed campaign's fucking fault for either not doing enough research into what this guy pushes and what this guy says and how many absolutely deranged clips of Hasan Piker exist, or just turning a blind eye to it because he's clouded. But this was the most predictable thing imaginable. If El-Sayed got out of the primary, which he ended up doing, the Republicans are going to have a field day with his association with Hasan Piker, because he's the most corrosive, toxic figure you could ever attach to your campaign. It's so stupid to do. So stupid. It's well, he wouldn't have won the primary if he didn't, work with Hasan and get his audience involved in his campaign, which one, I don't even buy, because Hasan's audience is mostly political hobbyists. They're not actually out there knocking doors and shit for the most part. But two, okay, even if that were to be proven true, he couldn't have won the primary without associating with Hasan Piker, that doesn't justify doing it, because you're essentially saying yeah, I'm just doing this because I want to win the primary. I don't actually give a fuck about beating a Republican. I don't give a fuck about that, right? It's suicidal electoralism. It's crazy. It's crazy that he made that decision, and it's even crazier that still to this moment, I have to assume it'll happen eventually. He hasn't come out with a strong condemnation of Hasan Piker. Twice this past week, he's made statements trying to distance himself, but they've been pretty mild. Hopefully he comes out with a, stronger condemnation eventually. Maybe it's too fucking late at this point. Who knows?
Americans are crazy. Yeah, but it's an American child killer. It is. And it's also women doing that. So you can't really, you can't say, oh, wow, women got together and did something silly. Oh, okay. Well, what is it? Tuesday? Okay, of course. Duh. Sure, of course that happened. So, he cooked, yeah. Just all brain deterioration. I know. And Democrats haven't had a primary since Obama. Well, I mean, you could say, I mean, with like the Bernie stuff, I get what you're saying. But like, I mean, they did have a primary. It was just probably a bullshit. The lefties are so far in their bubble, they believe regular people agree with them. Well, they do wield power in a very effective way. And I do want to say, it's like, you know, I always use the metaphor of, you remember in Game of Thrones season 1, whenever Robert Baratheon was like, what's stronger?
Just to kind of put this to rest, popular vote, 16 million votes, Hillary Clinton, 13 million votes, Bernie Sanders. She beat him by 3 million votes in the primary in 2016. Well, what about 2020? $19 million, excuse me. Biden beat Bernie by 10 million votes. 10 million, the same amount that he beat Donald Trump by in the general election that year. So, like, no. This idea that Bernie got robbed in either of these primaries is just laughable. It's ridiculous.
5 armies or 1 army? And he says, this is 5, this is 1. The truth is that, yes, the DSA and the leftists are not the majority democratically. But they are so motivated and they are so outspoken and they're very active, they're hyper mobilized and they're really fanatical, right? And I don't mean this in a negative way. I disagree with them, but they are fanatical.
It should be taken in a negative way. Politics shouldn't be like this. Conservatives are guilty of this too. I would argue that Democrats need to become more like this for the time being, but it's not the ideal state of things that everyone is like a sycophant for their team. But if everyone else is doing it and then the Democrats, you know, aren't doing it, then that's just a recipe for losing. So I would say that the Democrats need to do this to fight fire with fire, essentially, but it's not the ideal state of things, in my opinion.
And I think that that pushes them a lot farther, right? It's like the, you know, the 300 versus Xerxes' army. Xerxes' army is the fucking, the Democrats. And I don't want to glaze the DSA. I don't like the DSA. But I do want to say that at least they have a cohesive ideology. The DSA doesn't have the same level of ideological inconsistency that the Democratic Party does. The Democratic Party as a whole has a much more incoherent ideology than the DSA does. It's like saying,
this is kind of true, kind of not, but I don't think you need to have like I don't think you need to operate based on some sort of ideology. I would actually say that's kind of a toxic way of going about it. You should have a strong platform, a clearly stated, cohesive, and broadly across the party consistent platform of policy positions that you're going to push with, you know, small adjustments because people, you know, a Democrat in AOC's district versus a Democrat in Joe Manchin's district, the Democrat in Joe Manchin's district, I can't speak, are going to have to moderate their policy positions more than the person who's in the plus 30 blue district in New York, right? But generally speaking, there should be a cohesive platform. I just don't like the term ideology there, but I mean, maybe people just use them interchangeably at this point. Who knows?
But like having a coherent ideology doesn't mean you have a good ideology. Thanos had a coherent ideology. He's still the villain in Marvel, right? So anyway, it wasn't just her. It was Hasan's, best friend here, Abdul El-Sayed. So this is the guy that Hasan was answering questions at his press rally and everything and all this stuff. This is the guy that is now denouncing Hasan. Now he's making negative statements about him.
I wouldn't even call this a denouncement, really. It was kind of like distancing himself and saying he doesn't speak for my campaign, but he didn't really condemn him or denounce what he said, really, or anything. So this is the first statement. This is a weak-ass statement.
So Thanos made more sense? It does. DSA was Democrats? DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. That's DSA. I believe all Americans deserve the right to advocate for what they believe without fear of violence. This is particularly true for communities that have been intimidated for their beliefs in the past. My commitment to Jewish safety is the same as my commitment to the safety of my own daughters. Anti-Semitism is a scourge, and we need to address it in all its forms. I stand against any rhetoric that puts the community at risk. I want to be crystal clear. Nobody speaks for this campaign besides me. Why is there Like, what are you doing, man? Like, what is there, like, do you have to fill up the whole page? Holy shit, what is this?
It's justified text, Asmongold. It's justified text spacing. It's not trying to, like, fill up more space on the page. It's trying to make it so that the paragraphs look symmetrical. I'm not a fan of it personally, but that's what it is.
I feel like I'm reading the Epstein files here. It's like this is supposed to be, it says Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, you know, like, I don't know, who's the third, Gates, you know, like, I mean, what is this? How do you have these massive, like, I know this is stupid, but it's like, what the hell are you doing? So anyway,
I don't think El-Sayed himself made this image, but yeah, I mean, it does look a little silly, I guess, if you don't know what justified text is.
Quotes are worse. I know, we're going to look at it. And while politicians and pundits try to make this race about a Twitch streamer, we're going to be talking about gas, groceries.
He's just a widow Twitch streamer. Please stop picking on Hasan. He's just a widow Twitch streamer. Like, okay. And Nick Fuentes is just a widow fucking cozy TV streamer. Like, but when you talk, I'm sure when an El-Sayed talks about Nick Fuentes, he doesn't call him a fucking cozy streamer. I bet he calls him a neo-Nazi or whatever, right? So, like, Twitch streamer, it's intention, like this, every word of a statement like this is very deliberate, right? This is being done to downplay Hasan's importance, or the importance of his rhetoric, despite the fact that he's essentially become the face of, like, the extreme left movement in the United States. So
good schools and healthcare, because that's what Michiganders keep asking about. That's why I'm fighting to keep money out of politics, money in your pocket, and Medicare for all. This, I mean, like, I don't like Abdul. I think he's a terrorist supporter, and I think that him and apparently his mom was literally working with a group that was funding Al-Qaeda or something like that.
I don't know about this conspiracy theory. I mean, like, maybe it's true, and if it's true, then obviously that's horrible. But it's giving me the vibes of, like, Ilhan Omar married her brother or some shit, where there's, like, zero actual evidence supporting any of it. But I think saying that he's a terrorist supporter is a reasonable conclusion by virtue of the fact that he prominently campaigned with Hasan Piker during the primaries and continues, despite relentlessly getting hammered for his association with Hasan Piker, he continues refusing to strongly condemn Hasan Piker for being a terrorist supporter, and for being one of the leading, most prominent voices in the United States pushing anti-Semitism.
So, like, I think all of these people should be deported. But, I mean, let's be honest, like, this is a much better thing to say other than, but what about Israel, right? He's lying. Yeah, he's literally just lying here, right? And so these are the quote retweets. So we can look at it here. This isn't about a Twitch streamer, regardless of how you'd like to insult the intelligence of the American electorate. This is about how the hundreds of millions we have in our country. You have a strong association with someone who has said, what is this here? Who has said that emphatically that we deserve 9/11. If you actually cared about Americans, as you mean to imply by your rhetoric concerning affordability, you would have nothing to do with anybody who says that, obviously. The only reason why people like Abdul like affordability is...
It's frustrating to see, you know, that the extreme left has degraded intellectually to the point that they're giving absolute dipshit morons like John Doyle these fucking easy dubs, because you can just, it's so fucking easy to dunk on Hasan Piker. Like, it's so fucking easy. It's frustrating that this dude is attaching himself to, you know, Democrats who are trying to run for, like, key Senate seats. Like, oh God. And also, just from Hasan's perspective, imagine how fucking egotistical and narcissistic you have to be to know you're such a toxic figure, to know so many people have such strong negative opinions of you, and then to attach yourself to a key Senate race where you're creating this world where it's a plausible reality that in a few months we live in a world where Hasan Piker's narcissism costs Democrats the fucking Senate. Isn't that crazy? Like, Imagine the hubris. So fucking disgusting.
It's because affordability allows them to fund and enable more people like them to ethnically replace Americans and Europeans in their own countries and then vote for ethnic policies that benefit each other. That's the reason why they care about affordability. They don't care about affordability because they love the country. They don't care about affordability because they want to, make life easier for the average person. No, this is all a means to an ends, and the ends is to enact basically their version of Islamic, communist, fascist, take your pick, right? Control. And the best way to do that is to import people from countries where that's the norm, right? And also people that are like them that will vote on ethnic guidelines, like we see with obviously Minnesota, right, with the Somalians. So, and you saw this also with Arabs voting for him. I saw something about how like 94% of Arabs voted for Abdul El-Sayed. There is obviously a huge racial bias that's going on here, and that is the reason why these people are trying to do affordability. That's why. It's not because they care about America. It's because this is a means to an ends for them to subvert America. Now, there are plenty of ways to care about America without wanting to flood it with 1 million illegal aliens and a bunch of refugees, asylum seekers, and people from other third world countries where child marriage is normal. I don't want to do that. So let's go and we're going to read some of the comments here, okay? This is going to be good. So don't let foreigners vote in your elections. I trust me, I know. Everyone warned you until you publicly condemned Piker, and the stents will remain on you. This statement isn't good enough. It's not. The thing is that nothing will ever be good enough because nobody would ever accidentally make this mistake. Nobody, he's not, Abdul isn't stupid. He's a very
Well, it's funny because there was a clip of Hasan recently this past week that I saw where he was saying something along the lines of like, the El-Sayed campaign, I had a conversation with them and they were asking me like, did you expect this much pushback specifically focused on you? So it seems like they actually just didn't do their homework and they just bought into like, oh, this is like a popular left-wing influencer. People think he's cool. Which is fucking insane if you're running for the United States Senate. So insane to make a mistake like that, but
intelligent, well-spoken, well put together.
And by the way, Hasan said, no, of course I didn't expect. He's so full of himself. He's so full of shit, and he's tanking this campaign. And the fact that all of these left-wing pundits like Jon Favreau, Kyle Kulinski, Mehdi Hasan, these people are bouncing and doing tricks on it, trying to defend this guy and condemning, getting mad at El-Sayed for not running PR for Hasan Piker. Imagine how narcissistic your entire movement has to be to think that this guy who's running a campaign and trying to win a Senate seat in a battleground state, that it's his job to come out and do PR for the terrorist supporting Twitch streamer. Give me a fucking break. You people are crazy. You're crazy.
Well-manicured, great politician. I dislike him, but he's not stupid. He's an intelligent, reasonable, smart person. He knew what was going on. He chose to ignore it because he thought that it would be advantageous. So that's it. He's an eloquent liar. There's a lot of examples, right? Aren't most mistakes accidental? Yeah, it was not a mistake. It was a calculated risk that didn't pay off, and now you're taking the countermeasures to mitigate that risk. That's just what happens. And I think that it makes sense. That's what I would do if I was him. I'd do the same thing. I think we should only allow American-born people to hold any type of power in America. I don't agree with that entirely because some people are born in America, but then they're raised somewhere else. So I think that really we need to be a lot more strict, but...
So, and by the way, I called out, Kyle Kulinski, Jon Favreau, all these losers, Mehdi Hasan for bouncing and doing tricks on it and slurping and glurping and glazing and sucking off Hasan desperately. But let's look at our liberal media, who isn't necessarily out here bouncing on it for Hasan. But, three varying three channels here varying in size. Brian Tyler Cohen, Pondering Politics, Adam Mockler, all three of these channels, purport, they claim that they are, liberals. So let's see, have they covered anything having to do with this key Senate race and how Hasan Piker is absolutely just tanking the fuck out of that key Senate race? Let's see. Adam Mockler, 2 million subscribers. Video about Trump. Okay. Video about Trump. Video about Trump. Video about Trump. Video about Andrew Tate. Video about Trump. Video about Trump. Video about El-Sayed and Jesse Waters, this interview they did. Okay. Video about Mitch McConnell. Video about Andrew Tate. All right. Well, another video about Trump. Video about Trump. Video about JD Vance. Trump. MAGA. Trump and Andrew Tate. Trump. Like, okay, let's look at Brian Tyler Cohen. Let's see, what have his videos been about? Because there's been a whole, massive civil war essentially happening in the Democratic Party between, the extremist pro-terrorism wing, the Hasan Piker wing, the DSA wing, so to speak, and then actual, liberals, center-left, moderate liberals. Video about Trump. Video about Trump. Video about Trump. Trump. Lindsey Graham. Trump. RFK. Trump. Clarence Thomas, Carney and Trump, Supreme Court, Trump, JD Vance, Republican feud, Republican, Trump. Interesting. So they just haven't said a goddamn word about this. Adam Mockler or Brian Tyler Cohen, two of the most prominent YouTubers on the left right now, covering politics. Okay, what about pondering politics? Josiah. Trump, Ted Cruz, Trump next to Hitler, Caroline Leavitt, Adam Mockler on CNN arguing with a Republican, RFK, Trump. Was this Bill O'Reilly? Trump. Jesse Waters and El-Sayed. MAGA Fox host falls in love with Democrat. Interesting. Okay. Mike Johnson. Trump. Barron Trump. Trump. Well, to me, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like they're not actually covering the news. And by the way, isn't it fascinating how if these three channels were like how you were consuming news, you would just have no idea about any of this shit happening. How the El-Sayed campaign is most likely going to fail and lose to a Republican in November, even though the seat was completely winnable for Democrats, simply by virtue of the fact that he openly during the primary associated himself with terrorist supporter Hasan Piker. And there's just no coverage of this, by the way. And you're just going to be sat there scratching your heads like, I thought Michigan, I looked a few months ago, Michigan was like plus 10 for Democrats, a battleground state. How did we lose this? What happened? Well, it's because all of the creators, the liberal creators that you watch, the reason why you're so clueless is because they all are just farming the Trump money printer. They have no spine. They don't want to alienate, the far left. They don't want to have the mob sent after them, like what happened to David Pakman when he called out Hasan for doing speeches at colleges cosplaying Mao fucking Zedong. So they're not, like Mockler and BTC and Josiah. They're not political actors, right? They're content creators first and foremost. And their eyes are on the money and the views and the algorithms. They're optimizing for algorithms. They're not optimizing for political outcomes. And that is another key distinction between liberal media and, conservative media or extreme left media. Just another failing.
That's not the only level. Like, I would be a lot more willing to let somebody like Arnold Schwarzenegger, for example, run for office than a random illegal alien anchor baby, right? Like, I mean, so I think it really depends. It really depends, and I think that whenever you have an educated and you have a patriotic, educated, informed voting population, that means that obviously a lot of people can't vote. You get those candidates, right? I don't want to get too far into that, but again, I get your point. I hope you can see mine. This isn't a big deal for me, right? I don't want to argue about this, but this is just like my off the top of my head. This is generally me speaking out my thinking on the topic. I don't really have a final draft of my thoughts of this because I can't really change that. The only thing that I can say with certainty, though, is that if you run for office anywhere in America, you should never be allowed to have dual citizenship. You can't have a captain with a life raft. If you run for office in America, it doesn't matter whether you're running to be the dog catcher, the sheriff, the mayor, or the governor. You should never be allowed to have dual citizenship. And you should have to renounce it at the beginning of your campaign. Because if you're sitting there and you want to...
Oh, if you run for office? Yeah, I could see that. That could be... I could get on board with that. That seems reasonable enough. Your allegiances should, of course, always be... Like, this is why... you can't run for president if you weren't born in the United States, because people need to be certain that your allegiances are to the United States. Now, I would say that's very questionable with the current president, but whatever.
Like a fucking, oh wow, well like, oh well, what if I lose? If you're not willing to go all in to help the country in order to like run for office, which is like what you're supposed to do, then I don't trust you enough to, because you're worried about losing your citizenship in another country. Like I don't trust you enough to run a country. I don't.
I think that's fair.
Which country has the most dual citizens? I bet it's probably America does, right? Like, I mean, maybe it's India or China by just volume.
Skip this.
Goy, who's a good goy? Bruh, Sneeko, bro. Yeah. Name's generic to keep. Hey, what's wrong with you? What is this? What are you doing? This is how he does politics? Let me see this. I'm not sure what this is. This is... People aren't...
Is that everything from this?
Every Jewish person...
Oh, here we go.
Oh. This is, yeah, obviously redirecting everything. Is this the, why are you doing this? Hasan didn't say anything wrong, nor did he call for violence. Oh. He didn't call for violence.
I wonder what he has to do to gain the support of Oakland County's Jewish
He didn't
community.
say anything violent or incorrect. Really?
Yeah, he has to drop his critiques of Israel. That's what it is. Now, is Oakland County's Jewish community in unison making this demand of Abdul El-Sayed? No, of course not. But if there isn't opposition from Jewish figures in this community that are loud about the divergence between this representative and their own desires.
Every Jewish person proactively has to state that they're anti-Israel, or they can now be a target of terrorism for the presumption that because of their ethnic identity.
Ugh. I hate that Hasan is such a fucking moron and his fans are so fucking stupid that they're just getting absolutely cooked and getting their backs just blown out by Asmongold on this topic, dude. It is so shameful that these people have any political relevance in this country. These fucking crazy terrorist-supporting freaks.
They now share an ideology with a group of people who other groups of people think is problematic. Oh, okay. I've heard this one before.
Then the media narrative will set in.
Yeah.
Even if they don't.
Can you imagine if people were like demanding that, you know, or saying like, you know, if you're a Muslim, you have to come out and strongly condemn the actions of every Middle Eastern country that does unhinged shit every single day, or the hate crimes against you, the Islamophobia against you for simply being Muslim is your own fucking fault. Could you imagine how these people, these same fucking freaks on the far left, would react if that's what people were saying, bro? Can you imagine?
Don't realize that this media narrative presents Jews as single-minded and singularly invested in the continuation of the Israeli apartheid.
What does this have to do with Israel?
Oh my God, good question. That's what I've been asking every single time Hasan opens his mouth for the last fucking 2.5 years. Like, good ass fucking question, Asmongold.
Isn't this a Senate race in Michigan? Or sorry,
I don't know.
like
However,
I don't know how many
different ways.
Oh yes, but you know, that doesn't matter, right? When Mom Donnie was running for the mayor of New York City, one of the key topics was Israel. he came out a couple weeks ago with that absurd statement saying like, because he said during his campaign he would arrest Netanyahu if he ever came to New York City, and then he comes out and he's like, guys, I looked into it. Turns out the mayor can't just arrest the leader of a foreign nation because they're in my city. So yeah, there's this whole thing called diplomatic immunity. We can't really do that. I don't really have the authority to do that, which was obvious from the beginning, right? But it somehow that all, so him claiming he would arrest Netanyahu and then him coming out and saying, oh guys, actually, I was just talking out of my ass. I can't actually do that. Both of these things get framed as W's by leftists, by the way. Like, what a clown world we are living in.
I can explain this.
Like, what does this have to do with it? What the fuck does Israel have to do with this?
I don't know how. People don't recognize how dangerous this predicament is, how dangerous.
Damn, I see you're Jewish. Would be a shame if something happened to that, huh? Would be a shame if something happened to your kneecaps, huh? Hasan does this cringe thing where he like tries and talk like a mob boss. Like it really is revealing of his psyche, dude. He really is like full-blown narcissism, like personified.
This is for Jews.
It's dangerous for Jews. Do you want to know who makes it dangerous for Jews?
Your fucking fans, Hasan, like the one who just this other week was fucking his indictment was made public. Where is it here? I have it here somewhere. Let me see. Subject's brother. So this guy, he was arrested for calling and leaving a threatening message to Republican Senator Thom Tillis's wife after Hasan had a public like rally event thing, was saying that leaving threatening messages to public officials is effective in making them resign, by the way. This is a real quote from Hasan Piker. So this guy took Hasan's advice and did it. Subject's brother, Ryan Govia, expressed he was unsurprised that Subject would make a threatening call to a politician or politician's spouse. Our Govia opined Subject had anger management issues in addition to other mental health concerns. Subject spent most days isolated in his room playing virtual reality games. Subject regularly listened to the social media influencer Hasan Piker, who Argovia considered to have a far-left political ideology. Like, this is direct evidence of Hasan's audience being the ones perpetrating violence. And instead of Hasan being like, yeah, maybe I should tone back the rhetoric or make it clear to my audience that this shit isn't okay, what he says is, if you're Jewish and you live in America and you have any kind of warm feelings towards Israel, or you have any positive expressed opinion of Israel, well, it's your own fucking fault that you're getting hate crimed. Like, oh my God, this dude's crazy. And keep in mind, he's doing this simultaneously after having been attached to and becoming the media focus of Republicans in an effort to tank the El-Sayed campaign, his candidate supposedly. Like, imagine, so brazen. So the hubris is crazy to act like this and just think that like everyone, including like liberals and everyone, should just come out and defend you for this shit. You are out of your fucking mind.
All of the people that I want to deport from the country. So if this type of language and this type of discourse makes it, if you're the kind of person that it would theoretically make it dangerous for Jews to be around you, you should be deported.
You're running around basically tying your entire identity to a country that inevitably will be seen as basically Jewish ISIS. And you're saying,
right,
as Jews, this is all we care about.
If it was Jewish ISIS, Hasan would probably be supporting it.
True. True.
This is the full context?
You're making anti-Semitism work.
The full context. This is the thing with Hasan is they've been using this out of context cope for years and years now. But every time it's like, oh, I pulled up the context and it's actually worse. Or they'll say, like Kyle Kalinske does this constantly with the America Deserved 9/11 clip of Hasan's, right? Where he says it's out of context. He was talking about the concept of blowback. It's like, so it was completely in context then. America Deserved 9/11. That is blowback. You're saying they deserved it. You're talking about blowback. Like, it's built into the quote. Like, what do you mean it's out of context? Everyone understands what he was saying, bro. No one's confused about this. Like, it's not confusing at all, I promise. It was completely perfectly in context. It's still just a deranged position.
This is worse. You're making anti-Semitism worse by not actively speaking out against this.
Republican U.S. Senate.
This is like saying that every Muslim in America has to come out and preemptively say that Iran is bad.
Yeah.
No,
exactly.
you don't.
Yeah,
you just simply have to be.
That's obscene. Like, that would obviously be called as Islamophobic to demand that. And so Hasan saying this about Jews is anti-Semitic, on top of the fact that he, like we discussed earlier, supports all those, genocidal terrorist organizations who want to wipe all Jews off the face of the fucking planet. But yeah,
normal. Be a normal American citizen. Follow the laws. Be part of the culture. You don't have to. You don't have to disavow Iran.
Candidate Mike Rogers is endorsing a one-year moratorium on new data centers. Look at that. Mm-hmm. Look at that. They are positioning themselves and reacting to the popularity of our policies, our positions. Look at that. Yeah, Ben Jacobs says, Ben Jacobs reports on Jeremy Moss's text.
It's pretty disgusting that a Jewish American is now minding their own business, is now potentially being harassed because of something on the other side of the world. Yeah, I mean, the same thing happened with COVID and Asians. The same thing happened with Arabs and fucking 9/11. And it was stupid, disgusting, retarded, and wrong every single time.
Yep.
It was wrong.
How does Asmongold have a more progressive position on this than 90% of the fucking pundits in left-wing media? What is happening? What is happening to my country right now?
All three times. It's wrong this time, it was wrong last time, and it was wrong the time before that. It was bad when we did it to the Japanese. We put them in the internment camps in World War II.
Yep.
They're all bad. They got restoration, not restorate. What's the word black people want? Not restitution. Fuck. You know what the word is, okay?
Reparations, brother.
They got the money for it.
They got the
Adam
money.
Johnson says,
reparations.
I'll translate for those unfamiliar with these serious outreach threats. Moderate on Israel, support apartheid and the arming of genocide, albeit some mild scolding about Netanyahu, or else I will withhold my support and help Rogers. This is a variation on Hakeem Jeffries' further conversations thread. There are pro-genocide uncommitted movements everywhere for those with eyes to see. That's precisely what is going on here. These guys are shamelessly saying that they are uncommitted.
Hasan is the last person on earth who gets to make that complaint. The guy who didn't encourage his audience to vote for fucking Kamala Harris in 2024. The guy who's supposed to be the biggest left-wing influencer on the internet didn't encourage his audience to vote for the Democratic candidate. You can go fuck yourself, buddy. You do not get to complain about this.
They're uncommitted.
You are the last motherfucker who gets to complain about this shit, buddy.
Committed to Abdul El-Sayed because Abdul has an anti-genocide position.
He's an anti-genocide position. Everybody, see, this is the problem, is like everybody agrees that probably like most people agree that we don't want to be involved in Israel's war in Gaza. Like, I think most Americans are like, this is between you and Hamas and the Palestinians, and we don't want to have anything to do with this. Duh.
That is broadly popular. And these guys can't contend with that reality.
Yeah.
They want Abdul to take a less popular and immoral position. A position that he does not hold. It's totally ridiculous, and we should not let these people forget. We should not let others forget what shameless positions that they are holding on to in this pivotal moment, where the Senate majority hinges on this seat, and they are casting that aside Because while
no one is casting that aside but you, Hasan. You are the foremost actor in casting aside the importance of the Senate, just like you were the foremost actor in casting aside the importance of the presidency in 2024.
not all Jews in Michigan are single.
Anyone else pro-Ukraine and not pro-Palestine? I think it makes sense to be pro-Ukraine and not pro-Palestine. Like, I don't have really an opinion on the whole Palestine-Israel thing. I think the whole thing's a tragedy. But I am, like, explicitly pro-Ukraine. Like, I view...
Another position where Asmongold is just mogging these leftists. Dude, what's happening?
Russia as the aggressor. Russia is wrong. Russia are the bad actors, period.
Handedly or single
Russia bombed Kiev.
Handedly in you.
I will say, though, in defense of El-Sayed, he has come out very explicitly stating he's supportive of Ukraine in their fight against Russia. So, I mean, that's one thing he has going for him that most of these leftist grifters like Hasan or Cenk Uyghur or Anna Kasparian or any of these people have going for them. But you attached yourself to this movement, man. So I don't even blame people if they perceive you as being, you know, wishy-washy on the topic of Ukraine, even though you haven't been. Like, this is what you get. This is what you get for aligning yourself with a terrorist supporter, a Russian / China / Iran / North Korea / Cuba shill. That's what you get. And you deserve it. Like, it's such a critical, stupid error to make.
Shouldn't have done that.
Holding up the continuation of Israel's apartheid as a major reason as to why they will withhold their support. There are those who are doing that.
Uh-huh.
And we must not let people forget that reality.
There it is. A tragedy they worked towards and deserved, obviously. I mean, I don't think that the kids in Gaza, like, were working towards getting bombed, right? I mean, like, they were not. And it's sad to see that happen. Now, obviously, Hamas is using them as human shields, and I get it. But you can look at something like that and you can say this is a tragedy. Well, at the same time, understanding that, like, yeah, it's happening because there's a war going on, there's October 7th, etc. Like, you can recognize the humanity of people without necessarily saying that, like, it's just a one-dimensional thing. So I don't know really what the problem is, right? But anyway, yeah, kids are an argument in all conflict. The argument doesn't work. Yeah, sure, right? But anyway, yeah, so this guy, obviously, this is not really a big surprise. And it's already starting. Never give up to your opposition's demands. Give them an inch and they'll demand a mile. It'll never be enough. And this stench of the DC Democrat consultant advice, nothing statement that pisses off both sides and legitimizes an enemy's bad faith attack. You can see, so all of the terrorist supporters on Twitter are all angry about this. And why is that? Well, it's because finally somebody is, okay, all right, we're going to watch this last one here. We're going to watch this last one, and then I don't want to spend all day talking about this. There's some other stuff I want to get into as well. So let me just go through this, and then we're going to finish everything else, okay? It's fake outrage. It is. Okay, here we go.
They recognize that their whatever remains of their career relies on getting money from big donors that care a lot about Israel, right? Near Attended is another one of them. But then there's also the classic, like... I'm going to take the oppositional position to whatever Hasan is saying, like Asmongold. Here's Can
I just point out how narcissistic it is to think that anyone who disagrees with you is doing it out of spite for the purpose of just simply disagreeing with you and nothing more? Because obviously you're correct on everything, right? Come on, bro. Get a fucking grip.
Asmongold.
Okay.
Talking about how it's really fucked up.
I think this stuff is disgusting, and I think that the people that are enabling it, and the fact that he has people on his podcast that are doing this with him, and they're singing along to somebody who is promoting terrorism and everything else,
which is disgusting, and people like Cutie Cinderella and Will Neff and Austin should have a lot of pressure on them for being associated with this guy, because it is fucking grotesque how this guy conducts himself, and you're doing your part in tacitly normalizing it, or even explicitly normalizing it. So These people should have much more pressure on them to get the fuck away from this guy.
The reason why they're singing about the We Are Charlie Kirk and everything else, the reason why they're doing this is because
guy who recently ate a 14-day ban for advocating to murder children, like shoot children with a gun, is back pearl clutching.
This is the person, by the way, if the kids were Israeli, Hasan would probably be jumping through hoops to defend it.
True.
He's trying to use the kids as some sort
I do think that the Asmongold take that he got banned for was pretty unhinged, but I mean, like, it's just annoying because, like, Asmongold catching a 14-day ban for that quote is deserved in a perfect world, right? What's annoying about it is that Hasan says shit like this all the fucking time and constantly directly advocates for violence and nothing happens. So it really just kind of puts the double standard going on at Twitch under Dan Clancy's leadership, you know, on full display, like in an undeniable fashion.
of moral standard, but whenever all of his favorite terrorist organizations kill kids, you never hear about this.
Yep.
He doesn't care about
Or he just pretends it doesn't happen.
killing kids. Remember baby settlers? Who says
True. He did say that, didn't he? Huh. I guess pot meets kettle on this one, huh? I guess you both have advocated for murdering children as long as it's the right children, right, Hasan?
that settlers are military targets, and then right afterwards categorizes and makes sure that there's an explicit qualification of baby settlers. Now, if you hear settlers are valid military targets, and then you hear there are baby settlers, the logic there is that babies are valid military targets.
Yep.
But those babies were Jewish, so I guess it's okay.
Which, by the way, is the most easy conclusion to ever arrive at. So, I mean, like, anyone denying that is just fucking deranged.
Hasan doesn't care about the kids.
Nope. Except for the ones that send him nude pictures on Snapchat.
Pearl clutching about how we choose
that he goes around showing to his streamer buddies like Ludwig.
to continue carrying the fucking flame.
You're celebrating Charlie Kirk being killed because you wanted to kill Charlie Kirk.
I want to fucking kill him, dude. I want to kill.
Whoa! In a video game.
I meant it's just not in a video game.
You're the reason, like, that's the reason why you said you wanted to kill Charlie Kirk. This isn't you carrying the flame. This is you dancing on the grave. Everybody knows this. That's the reason why everybody has the reaction they do. And no amount of gaslighting or lying.
Which, by the way, I think it's like your right to do that, even if, I mean, like, and it's people's right to find that disgusting as well. But for Hasan to be doing this, again, while he has attached himself parasitically to the campaign of Abdul El-Sayed, who's running for a key Senate seat in a battleground state, and a seat that could ultimately end up determining which party controls the Senate, for Hasan to be going around dressed in his Mao Zedong costume, cosplaying as a genocidal dictator, singing AI songs on stage about a political pundit who was assassinated in broad daylight. And then clips of his audience, you know, saying, clips of his audience, where is it here? Booing. Clips of his audience booing.
It does not deserve 9/11. That's my new thing. America, it does not deserve 9/11. That's my new thing now.
He's been rehabbing his image, which is why I'm gonna.
America does not deserve 9/11. That's my new thing now. Boo! Boo! Like, give me a fucking break, dude. This is like in an absolute clown world we are living in.
Or misunderstanding is going to hide from the obvious doublespeak here. It's obvious. Are Israelis not allowed to build new homes in their own country? I don't give a fuck what you guys do. Just don't involve me in it. I don't want to pay for it. Just get your sand war bullshit out of my fucking country.
All
okay?
right.
It's very simple.
All right. I don't like the sand war term, but I mean, like, whatever. For the most part, I mean, Asmongold's giving better positions on all of this than Hasan or really any leftist media figure at this point. Because, I mean, they've gone fully off the deep end, right? And have been off the deep end for years now at this point. They are no longer the Bernie bros of 2016, let me tell you. But, I mean, I just wanted to watch that because I think that it's interesting that Asmongold has such better commentary on this topic of Hasan's association with candidates, Hasan's glazing of terrorist organizations, the, you know, normalization from other content creators of Hasan's behavior, whether they be political figures or normie figures. Like, all of it is just better than what leftists are doing right now. And that should really concern you if you're a leftist or if you support the DSA or Abdul El-Sayed or any of these groups, right? So that's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. It's the best way to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.